Hello and welcome to today's webinar, How to Deliver Scalable Core Banking Solutions with our customer Data Action. So allow me to start by telling you a little bit about today's webinar and our speaker. So to introduce myself, my name is David Roach, Manager of Bizagi Asia Pacific, based out of our global headquarters in the UK. And I'll be joined today by Alexei Fey, General Manager of Technology at Data Action. So for today's session, just to give you a brief introduction into who we are at Bizagi, I'll then pass over to Alexei, who will walk through the Data Action digital transformation story. At the end, we'll have about 5 minutes or so for Q&A, but please do feel free to post questions as we go along in the live chat window. So by way of introduction, for any of you who are new to Bizagi, let me give you a quick overview and set the context for the presentation. Bizagi offers a digital business platform that allows organizations to quickly build business applications and digitize their business processes. The focus is on speed to market and also allowing the flexibility needed by the business to align with ever-changing business objectives and strategy. Business agility, in other words. We do this by wrapping legacy systems with agile, process-centric application layer, allowing our customers to deliver engaging, connected business applications. We'll hear more about this over the next 30 minutes or so when we look at the DA story. So we, and more importantly our customers, have achieved this hundreds of times globally, both directly and via our partner network. So the key takeaway you'll notice that our customers represent a broad range of industries rather than being one specific vertical. You should also notice that a lot of these companies represent what you might call incumbent players or large established businesses. So the main driver for choosing Bizagi is often to ward off the challenge posed by younger digital competitors entering an industry. Bizagi allows our customers to become more agile and digitize their operations, particularly often old and cumbersome or even manual mid and back office operations. So I know Alexei might mention the fintech startups entering the banking market in Australia and how Bizagi is being used by incumbent banks to stay ahead of the competition or even integrate with them where it's appropriate. In this example, by digitizing the lending operations at a number of their customer banks. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Alexei.
Thank you, David, and hello to the audience out there today. I thought I'd start with just a quick introduction. I'm Alexei Fey. You'll see my title was General Manager Technology. To the market, I'm normally presented as the CTO and work for a company called Data Action based in Australia. Well, we're an organisation that was founded and incorporated in 1986 by a combination of credit unions or mutual banks who were looking to build together a collaborative banking tech organisation to become a preferred technology partner for what we call the customer-owned banking industry in Australia. In essence, we're a 30-year-old fintech now who've built and extended a suite of core banking and digital banking solutions with close to 30 banking clients across Australia. We're owned mutually and operate under a guiding principle that we're in business because our customer is in business. And this provides a drive to provide excellent technology solutions, delivering great business value at the lowest possible price for our clients. So enough about us. One of the most critical parts in any bank these days is the ability to provide loans to their customers. And as we all know, the needs and expectations of these customers are changing at an ever-increasing pace that means traditional technology platforms run the risk of being left behind. What this has meant for Data Action and our clients is that we had to have a good look under the covers for what it takes to sell and fund a loan to a modern customer. In reviewing our current systems and processes, we identified that although our platforms worked for today, it had some real-time interfaces, did some automated decisioning, had some electronic contracts, the underlying process and system for approving the loan became complex and costly to update. It was based on old technologies. It was rigid in its data structure, and its integration capabilities lended it a poor staff experience, which inevitably meant a substandard or poor user experience. So we posed the question, what does a banking client need today? And more importantly, how does that enable a human-centered or good user experience for their end customers? We took this step before looking at the technology solution to ask our clients what success would look like for them if we were to undergo a transformation of loans origination process for them. The good news is the answers were pretty clear and consistent. The first of these was that it needed to provide efficiencies in the back office. Now, they don't just mean cost related, but also efficiencies to reduce the time to serve a customer. Based on this reduction of time to serve and back office efficiency, they wanted the second item to be driving customer satisfaction increase through better communication, notifications, and from a trackable measure, a total lower customer effort score. And finally, what they wanted to make sure is as they invest in a platform for the future, it can adapt to the future needs both for their business in lending, but also for their end customers. So how did we approach this project? Well, those three things seem pretty self-explanatory, but how you get there is another challenge completely. It was important for us with a community of interested clients to really get under the covers first of what the future of lending looked like. So we hypothesized with them through some ideation sessions the question of what would lending look like in 2025. It became very clear very quickly that the biggest item was that customers, end users, would want to deal with any channel, anytime, and in real time, with the big unknown being what do we mean by any channel. So with this knowledge behind us, we planted a flag on the hill to strive forward, to build a flexible, customer process-oriented platform that would allow us to plug in those new channels as they become available. Whether that's web-based responsive design like we have today or a mobile app, or moving into conversational AI as a chatbot, or a new voice service with Cortana or Alexa, Siri, Google, I should name them all, we needed to be in a world that we could support those channels as they come to market. So that moved us onto the planning board. The total solution we needed to architect had to have an ability to understand digital transformation with APIs and integration built into its layer. It had to give us the ability to iterate, to make small changes quickly and see value from them. And it needed to have data and insights absolutely in its core offering to mean that we can continually adapt and learn for the future as those processes and systems run. So we went through the selection process of getting to the end state, which is Bizagi. We went to an RFI or RFP initially with 12 vendors, 8 of which were traditional lending platform suppliers and 4 BPM-based workflow and automation tools. We found quickly that although the off-the-shelf or custom lending platforms would deliver the quick solutions to market, they were all out of playing existing, none of them really met the needs for our vision of what lending would look like in 2025 clearly. They were too limited and rigid and didn't give the flexibility we need. After that assessment, we came to a clear strategy at Data Action that assembling an automation platform on top of a rules engine and leaving our core banking solution in place would provide the speed, flexibility, and roadmap alignment to our core system strategy. As we went through that, Bizagi stood out for the rest and ended up in our selected space for a number of reasons. Firstly, its ease of use. We found it much more business and process-oriented than IT-oriented, which was an outstander from other providers. Its insights and analytics, specifically the ability to provide in-flight process analytics for existing processes around customer effort, was sensational, as well as its very clear flexibility in APIs and integration options. So, on to implementation. The first stage of our process was to actually get a group of people co-located. Now that can be done remotely or physically, and we had a blend of both. But for us, that co-location was our business analysts, the people that understand processes, IT staff, yes, acknowledging you still need to have IT, especially if you're dealing with integration, but most importantly also the inclusion of credit risk professionals and business staff into a single team. And that team then mapped, using Bizagi Modeler, the backbone process for us end-to-end of what a customer journey looks like in doing a loan application. Once we understood that backbone, we started staging iterative, small-scale process to focus on how we deliver value first. The project itself, as we ran through that, resulted in the development of a credit card offering first, both for an application all the way through to funding, and then extended features on top of that by sub-processes and new small integrations to then be able to offer personal loans and overdrafts, and this will culminate with the delivery of full home loans end-to-end from application through to funding and contract execution by the end of this year. Within the project itself, Bizagi led training early in the project, and that meant that our process writers, our automators, and our developers were able to use the system as professionals within weeks of first laying hands on it, rather than months and months of learning new code or new languages. Bizagi's support throughout the first project sprints to deliver base value was sensational, and as we extended out, meeting our needs for tight integration, we've ended up integrating a huge number of integration points successfully into the process flow. That includes real-time credit and fraud checks through credit bureaus for auto decisioning. It includes a custom customer web portal to have communications, notifications and contract signing. It has core banking integration to provide real-time funding. It's integrated with NextGen, which is a big broker platform through Alexei standard messaging, as well as Dynamics CRM to provide updates and notifications to staff to maintain that single customer view that is so relevant in businesses these days. And the final piece was data enrichment services. The ability to plug into bank feeds from other FIs and do income and asset verifications meant that our process wasn't just about mapping a process with manual steps, but through integration could automate an end-to-end process all the way through without need of people in the right circumstance. So what did we achieve? Well, the slide itself probably speaks for itself. The new lending processes are delivering much less processing time in that back office, which has resulted in improved customer experience, and the terms we've been using are increasing the time for approval, but more important for an end consumer, that time to cash or time to money. The ability for someone to apply for a credit card or personal loan, know that they've got the money approved within seconds or minutes, and potentially with the right scenario, having that money in their account within minutes or hours rather than days, has ended up in a huge response from our mutual clients. The API integration has allowed dynamic responsive customer web portals to be built through human-centered design. That 100% of API calls means there's no direct connections to Bizagi, which is aligned to knowing that those future integrations we talked about, voice, artificial intelligence, etc., can absolutely be achieved easily. It's also given us the confidence and the ability to build out a much broader agile BPM capability based on the Bizagi platform to transfer other processes across our existing clients' needs, but also more importantly to look at new opportunities with new clients in the market for areas that Data Action previously hadn't played. So the benefits slide can feel a little bit like it's just what we've achieved, but I thought it was relevant that we actually just reiterated the benefits as a summary of why Bizagi, what we've experienced through the process, and run to here. The first piece, and David mentioned this in his introduction, was we bypassed the need to go through a big, challenging core banking migration. As long as your core has APIs and an ability to expose them, the ability to wrap a BPM product over the top such as Bizagi allows you to maintain the solid core capabilities you'll have in your business, but provide rapid digital experiences on top. It's also given us much clearer process visibility and the ability to report on the success of individual and grouped processes. From our clients' business, it gives them an absolute visibility to their pipeline of not just sales, but in-flight loan applications and understanding where customer constraints are. And the final piece for us was it assisted in changing the mindset within Data Action towards innovation and small step improvements. It changed the process model from an IT model and allowed us to extend that out across our business, and more importantly, to get our clients thinking that way as well. So, what's next? What's next, I guess, is a revisit on what does our future look like. It's, as we defined it, all around the user. Today, user expectations drive IT, and it's not the other way around. Human-centered designs with back-office digital transformation give us the ability to automate, escalate notifications for customers, and to provide continual changes to meet that speed of customer expectation. This capability for us allows us to think, act, and move with pace like the fintechs again, and leverage the strength of 30 years of technology and banking knowledge we have. This provides us a platform that in the worst case, especially with the fintechs, means that if we can't beat them, we can at least integrate them. Thank you for listening. If there's any questions coming through, it'd be great to have a chat.
That's great, Alexei. Thanks so much. Like you say, it is that time to turn over to the Q&A session, hopefully a valuable part of the session. So if you haven't done it already, please do put questions into the live chat window on your screen. As you've been talking, I can see a couple that have come through already, so we might take one or two of these and let people have a chance to put in other questions as we go.
Wonderful, thanks.
So first up, it's a good one. So what kind of skill sets have you needed to work with the platform?
Yeah, good question, David. We came into the process with, I guess, a traditional IT mindset. So we put in our IT developers and our BA team, our standard business analysts, into the project very early. What we found we needed to extend from skill set was some people that we now recruit and call them process analysts. Now, I guess they're a combination of a business analyst and a business person. So rather than be technically trained, just somebody who's able to visualize, map out using model of those process steps.
That's great, and I think it's really key to have those business people involved to align what's being built with the business strategy and goal of the organization, which is a huge differentiator this type of platform offers. I see one more question here. It's kind of on the same lines, but have you been able to get the business people involved in the project as it's progressed?
Yeah, look, it was a learning that Bizagi gave to us early as we got into the project, which was a real push to make the business people involved to get value. So for us, we got them in from initiation, all the way through from those first conversations to being embedded in the team during the build and test phases, as well as sign off. The reality is that those business people ended up owning the project more than the project manager and the developers, as they really helped manage that internal business expectation. They got consistency of messaging across to their broader audience internally, and they kept our tech guys honest. If they were looking to build things rather than deal with the process, we had a really good sounding board within the project.
Brilliant. No, thank you. Looking at the time, we might have time for just one more. I have a good one here, actually. So, was it difficult to change out of a developer mindset to use this platform?
Yeah, that is an interesting one. As we mentioned, we've been around doing IT services and mostly software for 30 years, so it'd be a little bit misleading to say no. It was initially quite a challenge. As the team started architecting, they were looking to release the software the same way we used to and build it and test it the same way we've used to. But as they realised the capabilities within Bizagi to do single-click deploys, to run A/B and multivariate processes, to use the tool a different way, and realised that it didn't mean that the developers were being run out of a job, that they were able to work as process modelers and designers and work with those BAs and process people, it really did bring them along. I guess it's probably the biggest learning for me is at an earlier stage if you're going to market and having a look at Bizagi or initiating a project, is get those developers in and make sure they understand where their role is in the new world. It's definitely not that they're gone, it's just that the type of work they do changes.
Yeah, I think it's a great question, actually, and great answer. Thanks for that. I think one of the biggest things or challenges people have at the beginning is getting out of that mindset and understanding that they can release functionality into development and production in a more iterative, agile kind of a way, which is often not possible when they're involved in a more IT technical project.
Yeah, David, it's right, and since we have a couple of minutes left, I think it's important to acknowledge one of the things that we struggled with a little bit is we attempted to run our project and our development method the way we always had, rather than take the advice from Bizagi around some of the Spark and iterative development mindset. If you can, and sometimes it's hard with a longer running organisation, try to grab that feedback early and embed it into your project. It'll give you the much quicker value steps to success.
Yeah, no, that's great insight and an important point. So I think we're kind of coming up on time, so I'll start to wrap this up just by saying, great questions from the audience. Really appreciate them. I know we haven't answered them all, but we'll definitely make a pass and answer by email after the webinar. We'll also post all of these questions onto the blog on the website as soon as we've had a chance to type them up. So just, Alexei, thanks so much for your time and for the content. Really appreciate you presenting. And of course, everyone who's joined. No, thank you. So all of you who've joined as well, thanks so much. We really do certainly appreciate the time you spent, and we hope the session was of value. If you'd like to find out more or follow up, you'll find a wealth of information on Bizagi.com. We run live demonstrations so you can see the platform in action every other Tuesday. You'll get the schedule on the website. It's possible to download and install the platform for evaluation if you like, and we can certainly help you with that. And for anyone who's looking for more insight on best practices, you'll find a wealth of white papers, webinars, case studies, and e-learning, again, via Bizagi.com. So again, thanks so much for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your week. Really appreciate your time. Thank you.